welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be going over my team selection and transfer plans for double game week 22. To begin with, in goal it's Kepa Arrizabalaga for Chelsea's home match against Fulham. Although the Blues struggled in the reverse fixture just a few weeks ago, they've shown themselves to be more airtight in defence since game week 17, picking up 3 clean sheets from their last 6 Premier League games. Although Fulham have been a decent attacking force so far this season, their form just of late seems to have tapered off, and I feel like Chelsea will be the favourites coming into this one. First up in the back line is Kieran Trippier for Newcastle's home encounter with West Ham. Trippier has been a joke so far this season. He's picked up bonus points every game since game week 14, and the last time Newcastle conceded in the league was back in game week 15. West Ham have come into this fixture having largely underwhelmed so far this season, especially in the offensive department, scoring just 17 goals in 20 matches. Although the Hammers will see every game as a cup final now, with the very real threat of relegation, I do think Newcastle will be able to shut them out this week. Joining Trippier is Dan Burn for the Newcastle double up in defence. Burn has been great for me so far this season in FPL since I brought him in game week 17, and for now at least, it seems like Eddie Howe is happy with his defence, having started the same 4 players since game week 9. Burn's obvious appeal in FPL comes from his clean sheets, but just recently he's found himself in decent goal scoring positions during set pieces, and has been unlucky not to get his first goal of the season. I reckon it's coming soon. Finally in the 3-man defence is Gabriel for Arsenal's away trip to Everton. This will be an interesting game to watch, as Everton have just sacked Frank Lampard, and it's unknown how they'll shape up coming into this one. Arsenal have dominated against almost every team they've faced so far this season, and I fully expect that dominance to continue this week. I'm guessing that Everton will try to keep the game at 0-0 for as long as possible and play on the counter-attack to nick a goal. Despite this, I'm confident that Gabriel will pick up a clean sheet in this match. First up in midfield this week I've gone for Marcus Rashford for his double game week at home to Crystal Palace and Leeds. I feel like this pick doesn't require too much of an explanation. Rashford has been fantastic since the Premier League resumed towards the end of December, and at the moment, he looks like United's main route to goals. Although there are loads of options from United you could go for, as their double does look so appealing, I do strongly believe that Rashford is the single best player, and I assume he'll be heavily captained this week. Almiron is the next player to make the midfield for Newcastle's home game versus West Ham. In many ways, I expected Almiron's returns to dry up following the Premier League restart, because he was hugely overperforming on his stats during that goal scoring run between game week 9 and game week 15. However, at the moment he looks nailed to start on the right side of Newcastle's front 3, and they do have a couple of good upcoming fixtures against West Ham and Bournemouth. I honestly don't feel like this is the week to move him on. Joining him in midfield is Son for Tottenham's home fixture against Man City. Although Son scored a brace in the FA Cup against Preston last weekend, I haven't been overly impressed with his performances so far this season. He's had a huge drop off in form since last season and is definitely not justifying his current price tag of 11.6 million. Although City are an opponent Son could well get something against, he's likely to be one of my transfers out this week, and I'll discuss what those transfer plans are in just a moment. Next up is Kevin De Bruyne for Man City's away game versus Spurs. De Bruyne has returned a couple of assists in his last couple of Premier League matches, but he's largely disappointed in the FPL point scoring department, especially with a price of 12.5 million. Although De Bruyne is playing a more advanced role this season since Haaland joined the team, he's turned into more of a provider than a goal scorer, and it's lowered his points ceiling. I do feel like it's a sensible move to hold on to him though, especially with an upcoming double game week and a guaranteed fixture in game week 25. Finally in the 5-man midfield is Matoma for Brighton's home match against Bournemouth. I'm really excited to own Matoma in FPL this week and really hope that he can grab a couple of returns against a struggling Bournemouth side. Ever since the World Cup concluded, he's been a regular starter in that left wing position, and his influence on the team is reflected in Brighton's results and the number of goals they're scoring. I can honestly see Mitoma being 30 to 40% owned by fantasy managers come the end of the season because he's just hugely undervalued. First up front this week is likely to be the player who drops to our bench, and it's Mitrovic for Fulham's away match against Chelsea. Just a couple of weeks ago, Fulham played well in the reverse fixture at Craven Cottage, and Mitrovic missed that match through suspension. Although I can see him getting a few chances in this game, he just doesn't look as appetising an option to make the starting lineup, especially as I have 2 free transfers. At the moment, I don't think he's worth a sell though, as Fulham do have some decent upcoming fixtures and importantly a match in game week 25. The final player in the team this week is obviously Erling Haaland with that away fixture against Tottenham. Although Spurs played well against City the other week, they fell away in the second half of the game and completely opened up, allowing players like De Bruyne and Mahrez to pick apart the defence. I can see a similar thing happening in this match, and that situation will probably benefit the likes of Haaland, who will be looking to run in behind the back line. Captaincy this week will be a tough decision, as Haaland is just coming off of the back of a hat-trick, which means that making the bench this week is Ward, Che Adams, Perrault and Patterson. Although I'm not set on transfer plans yet this week, my first thoughts are to transfer out Son and Perrault and bring in Saka and Luke Shaw. If I did this, then Saka and Shaw would come into the starting 11, Mitrovic would drop to the bench, and we'd likely line up with a 4-5-1. What would you do with my team with these 2 free transfers? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Captaincy is going on Rashford this week. 2 good fixtures and likely to play 90 minutes in both. He's United's main route to goals, and at the moment he's in fantastic form. Although there are players elsewhere in the team with decent fixtures, Rashford just looks too good of an option to ignore. So that's how the team is shaping up for game week 22. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to check out the 2 other videos on my channel for game week 22. I wish you all massive green arrows for the upcoming weekend.